What does that mean in the context of this album?
I guess that's what it means, for me at least, the idea that there's two infinities that can exist simultaneously, which is an analog for like the potential for an infinite number of infinities to exist simultaneously, like your infinite love for your granddaughter's infinite love for you, which are maybe different things in some ways, but the same in others, and they're existing in parallel, and just all the questions that asks.
The song Grandmother, it's one that all three of you wrote together.
Grandmother, my mother.
And to me, the song Grandmother has worrying about the future. And Adrian, how do you deal with that worry if that's where that song was going?
That song is almost a conversation. Like, I feel like the grandmother is sort of worried, and the child is like consoling the grandmother in this song. Like, it's all right. Everything that happened happened. Sleep loose. Like, relax your body into the earth. And also, maybe the grandmother is also the earth. And it's just kind of like consoling the earth or consoling the grandmother.
Gonna turn it all into rock and roll. Gonna turn it all into rock and roll.
We're gonna turn it all into rock and roll. We're gonna transmute this energy and find a high frequency of love and recognize like the beauty and the gift of life.
In the song Incomprehensible, Adrian, you sing about aging. Aging and death are my two favorite topics to think about and talk about. But before we get into that, let's hear the song Incomprehensible.
In 2 days it's my birthday and I'll be 33. That doesn't really matter next to eternity.
You mentioned in the song that it's going to be your birthday, and you're 34 now, by the way.
The views and opinions expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.
And good Wednesday morning, and welcome to another edition of Analyze This here on your NPR station in the U.S. Virgin Islands, WTJX FM 93.1 with yours truly, Neville James. Another beautiful day in paradise, battling the warm months of September and October, but today ain't so bad, and hopefully it won't remain that way. At some point we'll talk with the weather service. But we got the St. Croix Foundation here in the studio. Pull the microphone closer to you, Deana. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good morning.
Introduce yourself to the audience, if you will.
Deana James. I'm the president of St. Croix Foundation.
Young lady?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lili Cox, VP of Communications at the St. Croix Foundation.
That's good. How's the foundation doing?
Doing really, really well. Busy, but good. You know, this is probably the largest portfolio of projects and initiatives that we've had under our umbrella at one time.
You want to go through some of them?
Yeah, the largest of which is, I'd love to give you some, is this, Sunday Market Square. We are approaching completion of phase 1. Which will transform that blighted old theater into a state-of-the-art safe room and disaster shelter. During gray skies and during blue skies, it'll probably be the largest indoor performing arts center on St. Croix, possibly in the Virgin Islands, but it'll be around 28,000 square feet of space, which will offer our community opportunities for after-school programming, for arts and cultural activities. As an extension of the theater, we're also working on almost all the properties in the square. Some will include low to moderate income housing. Some will include nonprofit co-working spaces and then commercial working spaces. So that's the largest project. And then obviously we've been here to talk about Kids Count, which is we're reaching that critical point in the year where we're getting ready for publication of our 2025 data book. And then, you know, we do all the amazing work we're doing with our nonprofits. We have a nonprofit consortium, which is probably the most organized coalition of nonprofits in the territory. Just held an amazing summit that we're still trying to process and distill how powerful a convening that was. And then we are doing a lot of like national engagement with national funders, really trying to marshal resources. Just our mission to marshal resources for the territory, especially at this time when so many organizations are losing federal funding. So we are really doing our part to engage national funders, to remind them to remember to consider the Virgin Islands when they're thinking about their investments nationally for communities that are economically fragile like ours. And so we're very busy, but doing, I think, meaningful, purpose-driven work.
Lili, you want to piggyback on that?
Well, every single one of the initiatives that Deana talked about, and several others actually that she didn't, they are all connected, right? I think originally you reached out to us because we'd issued a press release around the scholarships that we issued this year. And one of the beautiful things about the scholarships that we are awarding every year is that these young people, we really are working to wrap around them, our arms wrap around them. And so when Deana talks about Kids Count, that feeds the data collection, the advocacy, that feeds directly into our young people, the scholarships, the initiative in Sunday Market Square, that capital development project, all of that is really focused on the future of the Virgin Islands and the next generation.
The mission for the St. Croix Foundation fundamentally is what?
To encourage greater philanthropic activity, to marshal resources, and to serve as a catalyst for the Virgin Islands.
And the Roger Dewey years, which was what 20 of them?
22.
22. Mm-hmm. He really it'd be an understatement to say how hard he worked just to get the foundation in the consciousness of the people of Virgin Islands, in particular St. Croix.
Yeah, no, there was, I'll extend that accolade to the founding board. That included people like Philip Gerard, Claudette Young-Hines, Michael Newberger, Ruth Beagles, Mr. Golden, Arnold Golden. There were a lot of incredible people sitting at the table conceptualizing the foundation. That I think led, number one, being the just really radical decision to invest in property in lieu of an endowment. We didn't start with an endowment like most community foundations begin. And so they had to think about what are the things that we can do to, number one, help people understand our commitment to community development, which was, at the core of our foundation. But really, I think they had a much more holistic perspective and understanding of community development than just, physical infrastructure. They also made this radical decision to prioritize nonprofits, which is something that all community foundations prioritize nonprofits, and that's where most of their grant making is directed. But because, number one, we were not endowed, and because we were founded literally during Hugo, like in the aftermath of Hurricane Hugo, when government instrumentalities were almost completely obliterated. And nonprofits, even if they didn't have physical, work sites, they were on the ground trying to serve people. And so our founders made the decision to serve as a fiscal sponsor, with the recognition that, if you are a grant maker, solely a grant maker, you are, you're feeding a man a fish. If you're a fiscal sponsor, in many ways, you're teaching a man to fish. And so you're using your capacity to help build capacity for an entire sector. And in the Virgin Islands, Lili and I talk a lot about the fact, and I think I lose sight of it. She has to kind of remind me and help me understand what it means to not have municipal government, what it means to not have localized, decentralized government, and how a lot of people don't get served because of that. And in many ways, our nonprofits serve as that layer of localized public service and social services. And so Philip Gerard was activist. That was one of his, greatest sort of movements, was around advocating for municipal government for St. Croix.
He had a vote there this week or something.
Yeah, he did. I saw Frandel.
I saw Frandel. Yeah.
And so, when I stepped into this role, I spent a lot of time in the beginning just reading some of the originating documents and like being able to go back in time. I wasn't around when Philip was, they were, and Roger, in the beginning when they were, building the foundation and just conceptualizing it. Roger started in, I think, 2 years after the foundation was launched. But to have people like the voice of Ruth Beagles and Arnold Golden and Philip Gerard and Michael Newberger, Claudette Young-Hines sitting at a table and thinking and talking about like what St. Croix needed was, I think, what helped me chart my own path for the foundation once I started. So it was, I spent 12 years with Roger doing some really foundational work for the organization. And then a lot of things shifted, when he left. We had started losing the donors that we had. And by the time he left, almost every donor left when I stepped in. We got almost no, I think under my tenure, we've gotten almost nominal funding from the local government. So I had to think on my feet to figure out how to keep the organization afloat, number one, and number two, to chart my own course. And for me, it was going back, Sankofa, we talked about that last time, go back and fetch it. Remember what our founders were, what their vision was for St. Croix, what their vision was for the organization when I started.
You have you call it since St. Croix is a woman and St. Thomas is a man, you got brother agency in St. Thomas, the community foundation.
So interestingly enough, there are 3 community foundations. There were, I don't know if St. John is back up and running, but there were 3 foundations that were founded at the exact same time. St. John went first, all in the aftermath of Hurricane Hugo. St. Croix had actually been working, they had been talking about a community foundation before Hugo. Kind of it died down a little, those conversations. And then obviously after Hugo, what typically happens in communities is that national philanthropy like swoops in and all these resources are brought to bear. And that did not happen for us because immediately after Hugo hit us, it hit South Carolina, and that's where all the focus went. And so, our founders started like really working hard to stand the organization up. St. John is the St. John Community Foundation. I'll tell the story. St. John is St. John Community Foundation. St. Croix is, St. Croix Foundation for Community Development. And then there was word that there was a community foundation being stood up in St. Thomas that would be called Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. And there were conversations about like, hey, could I think our founders, like I do, believed very deeply in place-based philanthropy. That like we do make strategic investments in St. Thomas, but I could never make the kind of investments in St. Thomas as a St. Thomas based organization. And the same goes for St. John. And the decision was made to stand by the name of Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. And that happened.
So let me stop right there.
I don't think that story's ever been told publicly,
No,
but
no. But let me stop right there, man. And take a shot at my St. Tommy and people let know. Okay, I mean I love Ayo, right? Of course, I am a little bit more biased to St. John, but I gonna take a shot at Ayo. What it is about Ayo in St. Thomas, right? That everything that based in St. Thomas got to carry the name Virgin Islands and not St. Thomas. Right? Now this is Neville. Don't blame Deana and Lili and nobody else. This is just me asking Ayo St. Tommy and Doc School, Gwen Marie Molina, all Ayo in St. Thomas, who I love dearly. What it is about Ayo that St. Thomas as a brand ain't good enough for Ayo, you got to be the Virgin Islands. What it be? The Carnival, the out of Virgin Islands Carnival. What is the Daily News, which is the Virgin Islands Daily News. It's never been the St. Thomas Daily News. Now the Community Foundation. I hear in a story here now. Judge Dudley Alayo over there, who I reached out to Alayo. What happened to what's that? What wrong with the name of St. Thomas that everything got to be Virgin Islands over there? Oh gosh, you got Community Foundation at St. John. You got the St. Croix Foundation. But you go be Virgin Islands, man? Why? No. What did about you? Now, I know I'm waiting for the text message them as a response, right? And, I have no problem. I know are you big on marketing? Are you been the merchant island within the territory? As some, yeah, and all that stuff. But come on, man. Oh, gosh, man.
But here's the deal, there's a place for all of us. And one of the things that we've really, I think, gotten good at, we've gotten really great at, is that we are a collaborative organization. We've worked really hard. And over the years, early on when I started, we worked very intimately with CFEI, with the dictionary project that our board members supported them with, and really working to make sure that we always, sort of understood that we were serving the same people. And, our kids count work. Even we just had this summit, and we didn't have a lot of money for travel, but we made sure that our St. Thomas and St. John based nonprofits didn't have to spend a penny on transportation, air transportation, or hotel accommodations. And so that's, those are the ways that we make sure that we are including, all of our, key stakeholders in the work that we're leading here on St. Croix. But yeah, we believe in play space. We believe that, I know intimately our nonprofits here on St. Croix in a way that I could never know the nonprofits in St. Thomas or St. John. And, I have roots in St. Thomas. Like, that, I have family roots in St. Thomas, but I was born and raised here on St. Croix. And this is, the place that we are embedded in. And because of that, the way we serve organizations here is deeper. And, when we travel and we go and we visit other community foundations, the further, the less proximate you are to the community that you're serving, the harder it is to serve with intention and with the kind of impact that I think communities are seeking. And so we talk about it all the time. Play space means everything to us. When Maria hit, it was our opportunity to understand. I can't even express how much clarity I gained from that experience, because I understood what our founders were thinking. Every investment that they made, every decision they made, the mission that they chose, the priorities that they established after Hugo, all became really clarified after Maria for me. Almost nothing changed for us in terms of how we serve community, which was an incredible testimony to their vision, the investments that they had made, the love for community, how they thought about community, and even when we didn't have a lot of money. That's another thing. That was another thing that happened after Maria, where the decision was made. And St. John Community Foundation and us, we talked about it. They seated the fund for the Virgin Islands at one community foundation, which meant that it was difficult for us, those of us who were serving in place, to secure the kind of resources we needed to support our stakeholders in our place. And so part of the reason that I've spent so much of my time building relationships outside the territory was, number one, to honor a pledge that Philip and the rest of our founding board made, which was to minimize competition for resources at all costs, which is a very non-capitalist, non-philanthropic commitment. Philanthropy is highly competitive.
Let me take a break. When I come back, I want to ask Lili about that support role that she plays for you.
Yes.
Because that's critical.
Yes.
With any
we've been
any
here
structure.
together for 20 years, so yes.
Yeah.
So we'll take a break. Be back right after this with the St. Croix Foundation.
Thank you.
And we're back here at Analyze This with Miss Deana James and Miss Lili Cox from the St. Croix Foundation here in the studio. Good morning, ladies. Glad to have you here in the studio. So, Lili, everybody knows who runs an organization, but the reality is those managerial level where you're the conduits between the leader or the face or the voice and those on the lower levels. It's important that folks like yourself always keep things in perspective, right? I'm a sports junkie, and
All sports?
all sports.
Okay.
And this one coach, they always ask him, why did he have a stone face, right? And he said, you're not as good, you're never as good as you are on your best day. You're never as bad as you are on your worst day. And you can't be, the reason why I can't get emotional is because I always have to be in control of my emotions. You know what I'm saying? So you run an organization, a philanthropic organization, a community development organization, a non-profit sensitive organization like the St. Croix Foundation, where everything you do is scrutinized because that's just how people are. They don't believe that people do things from the goodness of their heart. You follow what I'm saying? And, there is no real giving. Everything is about, wanting to, there's an ulterior motive involved with everything. And the St. Croix Foundation, as I know it, over the years, has pretty much told that myth through its behavior, through its contributions, that that's not even close to true, right? What's it like knowing that you got to overcome these hurdles, you got to support the face, you got to remain in the consciousness of the people, because the need for the sensitivity as it relates to nonprofits, specifically because there are nonprofits that have capabilities that the government simply doesn't have.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just being candid here. Talk a little bit about your role as a deputy.
Neville, you've said quite a lot there. We need 3 hours again. Well, I just want to start out by saying thank you so much. I really like that phrase about nonprofit sensitive, because that is, the role that we serve. I also want to say that the foundation is just grounded in selfless service. Like, we really are. And you can look at any piece of our portfolio and you can see that in demonstration. What's it like to be in this role? It's absolutely a ride. It is a fascinating experience to watch the pieces of progress come together. We walk in this world, and just because of the way our brains work and our eyes work and things are structured, you see a thing and you see that thing. And working with Deana and the team at the foundation and our nonprofits across the territory, there's a real sense of seeing more than just what's right in front of you. We talk about, you see the iceberg in the water, and the most of the iceberg is under the water. And I really feel like it's fun to poke and dig a little deeper and see what's really under the surface, and address those root issues. I will tell you something, that one of the things that I really enjoy about working with you, Deana, is that she really asks hard questions in a graceful way, but they're hard questions that ask you to really stop and consider. And it was maybe 10 years ago that I walked into her office, and she looked at me and she was a little exasperated. That's the way I remember it. She's like, what is it? What is it? What is it that makes us, this St. Croix Foundation for Community Development, different? What makes it so that we are so nonprofit sensitive? What makes it so that we are who we are? Because we really are different than your conventional, traditional community foundation. And I looked at her and I said, it's the fiscal sponsorship. It's providing our 501c3 nonprofit umbrella to over 250 charitable projects that allows us to know this community in ways that just programmatic work or grant making alone just simply can't. And the sensitivity, again, I just really like that word, Neville, about really looking at these organizations and what they are doing, and building capacity in them so that we're stronger as a full civic sector. So one of the reasons why I love being at the foundation is because it's constantly evolving and changing. It does work, research, data collection, programmatic, whether it's fundraising, it doesn't matter what we're doing. We do it, we assess it, and then we pivot if we need to, right? And what that has resulted in today is that the foundation doesn't really have a single priority, right? So, or even two or three, right? So most community foundations, they have priorities. And all of you listening, you will, this will sound familiar to you, right? They have a priority in education. That means they will only fund programs in education. Or maybe their programmatic focus and grant-making focus is environmental. And so they only grant around that subject. Mm-hmm. The foundation has evolved to a point where we do not have a single issue sort of orientation. It really is community development, community resilience. And that way, we can be adaptable and nimble, and we can address any crisis that comes along. Listen, what have we been through, just even in the last 20, 30 years? I mean, it's just been a list of things, some of them good, but a lot of them coming down the pipeline have not been that great. And they're different, right? It's a global pandemic, it's a hurricane, it's political upheaval, it's economic shifts, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we have faced it all as a community. We know that the crises will come from all different directions. So having a single priority is no bueno. And so as a result, what I have seen and my role at the foundation is to help the team put the pieces together, right? That all of these separate programs and projects and initiatives, grants and scholarships, all these different interests that we all have, how do we bring it into coherence so that we are stronger across the board? We're not just strong in tourism, right? We're not just strong in small business development. We are strong across the board so that we can move as we need to.
The Kids Conk, the history behind the Kids Conk is what? As it relates to St. Croix and as it relates to the Virgin Islands. Started how? Whose baby was that?
Okay, so Kids Count was started by Annie E. Casey 30 years ago, I think. Are we 30? Mm-hmm. 30 years, 30 over 30 years ago. And then it was the foundation was not the foundation. The Virgin Islands was brought into the network 25 years ago. Through a partnership with Annie E. Casey Foundation, which is a national foundation that sort of owns Kids Count brand. Mm-hmm. They have Kids Count in every state in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, not Guam. It was seated at the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands for 20 years. I think one of the strategic partners at the time was UVI's Eastern Caribbean Center that provided data from the VIX, which is the Virgin Islands Community Survey. Almost every state and Puerto Rico accesses data for Kids Count a number of ways, but one of the key ways is through something called the American Community Survey, which the Virgin Islands has never been a part of. I think the justification or explanation we've gotten was because of the addressing issues that we have here. We're never able to participate in the American Community Survey, and as a result, UVI created something called the VIX, which is the Virgin Islands Community Survey. It's sort of like it, but it's our version of the ACS. Mm-hmm. So most of the data was collected through VIX. CFEI led Kids Count for 25 years. And then in 2019, That's another story I have not. Have I told publicly? I haven't told. In 2019, I received a call. Was approached by Annie Casey, and they said that they were making some strategic changes across the nation because their feeling was that Kids Count, in as much as Kids Count is a data collection initiative, it also is about data activation. How do you move the needle on child well-being? It's great that we're reporting on child well-being, but like, are you actually working toward policy or programmatic shifts to actually improve the data outcomes? And so they were making some changes throughout their network. One of them was here in the Virgin Islands. They felt the Virgin Islands, not any key stakeholder, but just the Virgin Islands as a whole, had not been making the kinds of gains that they wanted to see. And they had heard about our nonprofit consortium and felt that the work we were doing, the holistic work we were doing, like Lili talked about, that was more sort of less siloed and more collaborative, would be a potential asset to Kids Count. And they, in lieu of pulling Kids Count from the territory altogether, they were going to give us the chance to take a stab at it to see if we could begin to move the needle on child well-being. And so in 2020, after a number of conversations, initially we said no, we did not want it. We, for a lot of reasons, political reasons, we didn't want anyone to think for 1 second that we sought a Kids Count. We had a lot on our plate at that time, and we didn't know if we had the capacity to even take it on. Talked to my team, and we talked quite a bit about it, and finally made the decision to say yes. And in 2020, they formally invited us to serve as the territory's lead for Kids Count. So we've only had Kids Count now for 5 years. And over the course of those 5 years, we've had to make, we talked about this the last time, some strategic decisions because we didn't have current data. The last VIX, Lili, remind me, the last VIX was done in 2015.
The data was
collected in 2015, reported in 2018. And we were now starting in 2020 with 5-year-old data, and that couldn't work. And so we started working. Thank God we had folks in the Office of the Governor, and we had some folks at Department of Education who worked with us to build a MOU, a 9-agency MOU that has allowed us to get data directly from our data partners in the government, as well as some nonprofit data partners. So we had a site visit from Annie Casey, the first site visit since we took over Kids Count. In February, they came and they basically acknowledged that we had some of the most current data in the entire Kids Count network. And so you talk about the progress that we've made, in addition to the fact that we've included our nonprofit data, which is critical data that has historically not been included in Kids Count. We've included that data in the in our publication, and then last year in our data publication, we included a data dashboard, which was really elevated the product that we are creating for the territory and for the entire Kids Count network. So we have done in 5 years a tremendous amount of work. And I will say this, I know people are listening, I will say this, we have not gotten a penny of local. We have gotten some federal funds to support this Kids Count work, but the fact that Kids Count historically has been data that was critical for government agencies and nonprofits to use to access federal funding. I still am frustrated. It's still frustrating for us, even though we've been able to maintain a high quality of publication and work that we're doing through Kids Count. We've gotten no local government money to support Kids Count.
Yeah, I'll actually add a little bit to that, which is that to me, to be quite honest, it's confusing. The Kids Count data book for over 25 years, and now in the last 5 years, is used. It is on just about every nonprofit organization's desk or on their shelf somewhere in their organization across the territory. Every government agency, I think, uses it to some degree. Certainly some of the larger agencies that we're also familiar with, the Department of Education, the Department of Health, the Department of Human Services, they call every year. They look through that book looking for data to make the case for more money for the territory. The return on investment for this territory, what Kids Count provides, is extraordinary. And now even more so, right? So just remember that Kids Count is free, right? It is a public resource that is free. It is only a third funded by the Annie E. Casey Foundation.
Or less.
Or less. The rest we have to raise, and most of those funds come from outside of the territory. So it's really just plain confusing to me how this resource, which is so recognized as an imperative, right, is something that we have to really struggle with every year to fund.
Let me ask this question, because I'm a data junkie.
We are.
Yes, we are.
We are data junkies, right? However, I got the Jada Finch question that I want to ask her. I was having a conversation with her about 8 years ago, and she said, Neville, I've been waiting to see you. And I was like, yo, what did I do now? Right? And she said, no, you didn't do nothing. I got a question. And, she's a generation older than we are, right? And she asked this question. She said, when I bring this up, I brought this up at least 5, 6, 7 times on this show. We asking our teachers to do all this certification and this and that. And when we went to school, our teachers weren't subjected to that. And look at how we turned out. And that's a legitimate question, right? Now, so let me, link it to the data now as a junkie. You need those numbers, right, to know from year to year, from 5 year to 5 year, from decade to decade, where you were, where you're at, where you're going. I'm a big proponent of it. I believe in that. But the question is, and we're going to get into Kids Count in detail after the break, is are we getting away from fundamentals to the point where, it's impacting, how we using the data to make for a better version of us, right? So we'll take a break. Be back right after this with the Sinclair Foundation. And we're back here on Analysis. We got the St. Croix Foundation in the house. The kids count. They got big. You gonna have a press conference type thing, or just a press release?
No, we have a press briefing every single year that we do our publication. It's usually virtual so that we can include our St. Thomas and St. John partners and some of our national partners as well. Kids, Annie Casey staff, oftentimes our program officer sits in on it. But yeah, we do it.
What date of it?
Have we? Well, so
working on the date?
We're working on the date,
Okay.
and part of it is that we have some stragglers for our government partners that are getting the data to us, so we have to wait
Okay.
until.
Well, we'll wait. No, back to the question I asked.
Yes.
Right. One of the things that we've done over the last 150 years in America is we've sophisticated everything. Right? At the end of the day, 1 + 1 will always equal 2. So, based on that question that one of our mentors,
That's right.
Jada Finch, she asks, which is, if it worked for us, and we can't deny that it worked for them, because they are the reasons why we actually have a modern day government, right? They were the ones who took us from, being completely dependent on the federal government to understanding it to the point where we generated money and providing for ourselves. Not that we're perfect, we're far from it. I want the public to know that. I'm not saying that, our thing is, all the bulletproof, but guess what? Everywhere else has their issues as well. I'm not just beating up on us like as if, we're isolated in that regard. So, all these different entities and doing this certification, instead, I don't want to knock the certification.
Yeah.
How do we take the certification, the modern day certification, I think it's a better term, and mingle it, right? Co-mingle with the foundational stuff that work for us, because I got a joke for you. I want to say this, right? This we're in a very highly charged political environment in America now, right? Where they're talking about immigrants and all of that, right? And so George Conway, right? He got big beef with President Trump and all that, and so there's this there are, I gotta speak properly because we got the St. Croix Foundation in the house this morning, right? There are those who are so anti-immigrant that they don't really understand the history of America. So George Conway had to tell them, I think I told Maurice this on Monday, the person who wrote 51 out of the 85 Federalist Papers was born in Nevis and educated in St. Croix when it was a Danish
Territory.
jurisdiction. So this thing about killing, going after immigrant and all kind of stuff, learn
History.
Learn your history, right? So talk about how we could, do the right kind of commingling so that we could get our percentages up.
So you're talking to two people who, Lili and I kind of cut our teeth in, actually at the foundation and in philanthropy through an incredible amount of work that we did with our local Department of Education. I think, Neville, you were around then when we started our initiative, our Model Schools initiative at Elena Christian. We learned a lot. Lili calls it the 12-step program, and we made a lot of mistakes, but we learned.
But that's
it. Part of it. That's what we learned. We learned that those mistakes were critical to getting us to where we are. We used Kids Count for every decision that we made back then, long before Annie Casey approached us. And one of the investments that we made, Lili and I went to this conference. We were directed by the Gates Foundation at the time that was doing a lot of work in education, to this organization, International Center for Leadership and Education.
You say you went to that conference?
Yeah, we went to that.
You see, that's the next thing. That's the next thing, and that's a segue, but it's the next thing where Virgin Islanders, believe that going away to local people going away to conferences is a waste of money. Yeah. You're always out traveling and all kind of blah, and they don't understand it. You got to get out there.
No, we actually, as part of that partnership that we had, we actually worked with the Department of Education to get 300 teachers and educators and parents from the Virgin Islands to one of those model schools
That's
conferences.
why I'm saying.
St. John,
Transformational.
St. Thomas,
That's
and
what I'm saying.
St.
That's what I'm
Croix.
saying.
So-
But the paranoia,
Yes.
tends to dominate.
Yeah.
Instead of people stopping and thinking, well, yo, we got to expose ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a bad way, but there's good ways of exposure.
And the reason that we really liked International Center for Leadership and Education, Dr. Daggett, was the head at the time, became a strategic partner of ours. But he used to say all the time, when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what you're getting at when you talk about us getting away from fundamentals. There's two sides of it. One of the things that we also did was we did a lot of reading. Mm-hmm. And The Smartest Kids in the World, I think that was the name of the book, was about the Finnish school system and how they went from middle of the pack for NAEP standards to the top leader of the world in educational standards. Finland. And they did it. Number one, they started with an assessment of what people valued in Finland. Like, what is our value system? Which we haven't done that work yet. Mm-hmm. And what they valued was trust. And what was interesting about the fact that they valued trust was that nobody trusted anyone. Mm-hmm. And so they had to do some foundational work. And what parents said to educational stakeholders in Finland was that if you put the best teacher in the classroom, I will never worry about my child. I will never worry. I will never be calling the school to check in. I will never be assaulting teachers, or if you just put the best. And so what they did, they started with teachers and they did the opposite of what you're saying, but for them it worked, which was to make an investment in education and in teachers that positioned teachers at the same level that we position doctors. Mm-hmm. And so they professionalized education in such a way that you could not even step into a classroom without a master's degree. And they trained their teachers so well that all of the things, like they didn't have homework. There were so many things that were getting done in the classroom because they had professionalized and supported and paid teachers at a level that that demonstrated the country's value for educators as a critical part of the country's economic development, social development, and it worked for them.
No, that's the answer to the question. She asked me a question, and you just answer it, which is...
That's what we walked away with, that it's the teacher.
Yeah, but so the answer really isn't the certification. The answer is the investment.
In the investment, 1,000%.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, that's how Lili?
Well, I mean, we've done, as Deana said, I do call it the 12-step program. And because we really have done so many things. And each time we would do it, and as I was talking about before, we would assess and change
pull the
course.
microphone up, Lili, so we can get this.
And change course if we needed to. Mm-hmm. Is that a little better? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And one of the things that happened after we, did that reading, and we actually attended a conference with someone from Finland who actually stood in front of, the audience and said, I don't know what you guys are all doing here. I don't, which was sort of, we were taken aback by that. But that concept of really understanding your values, right, is critical. And I'm just going to speak for myself right now, which is I'm not certain that the values here in St. Croix, I'm much more familiar with that, really mirror the values of the U.S. mainland. And so when we have teacher certifications that we are just copying and pasting and embedding into the Virgin Islands DNA, I think that that's a recipe for danger. And years and years ago, when we were doing some policy work, we actually published right before Hurricane Maria and Irma, we published a white paper called Cracking the Code. And one of the things that sort of was lifted up by that work was teacher certifications, by themselves, if they're just something that have been copied and pasted from another place and another time even, and then put in our community, if we're not willing to look at all of those different regulations and certifications and try to figure out how to meet them, because of course we are under the U.S. flag, can't avoid that, but how do we meet those standards, but really address the real issues and what's relevant here in the U.S. Virgin Islands and what we value. And so actually it was, 2012, 2013, I can't remember. We actually, based on all of the research and all of the work and all of the data, we actually developed a program.
Since you're talking pro Virgin Islands and our culture and all that stuff, down here we just said data.
You know what? This is like the third time someone has told me that.
It was probably me all 3 times.
Right? Oh, thank you, data.
The data. Like the St. Croix Avis.
I know.
And they
watch,
say Avis, but it's really the Avis.
But
I'm just teasing and having
no,
fun.
but
Go ahead.
listen, doesn't data sound a little better than the Dana with that sort of
I
thing?
agree. I agree. So I'm just teasing.
No.
No, but you're right. You're right.
But I really, it's one of the things we did. We developed a program. We even
Blending.
wrote a grant application.
Yeah.
In order to develop, in partnership with UVI, it would be stationed at CTEC, and it was going to be a teacher education program a teacher lab, where we actually said, okay, so we have to work under these U.S., certifications, federal, teacher certifications, but now let's test them in the classroom.
No, but the
and
RT
let's see
part,
what
the
we
RT
really
part,
care about.
the RT part, as part of what they wanted to do with the tech village, a teacher's hotel. I think the hotel was about the small hotel that was a part of the template for the RT park, right? Remember now?
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Remember this argument was, well, if I want to build this hotel, why we don't build it along the shoreline, right? That was their thinking, right? And at the time, the director at the time was saying, well, if you're building a tech village and you want to get into development, you got to have some place for people to stay if you're going to bring people in and all that stuff. So you just mentioned teachers. Not
A lab.
the
It was a
lab, right?
teacher lab.
Lab, right? But that's all part of it. That's the investment thing.
You're
right?
talking about an ecosystem,
That's
Neville.
that's the
you
word.
can't just have one certification and something going on over here and over there. It's got to be a coherent ecosystem that really is looking at all parts of the system and how it works. And it's not just education, right? It's health infrastructure. It's everything, right? Like you really have to think of the entire system.
But we developed, so we have, it's one of the many things we have sitting on a shelf, a comprehensive plan around the development of a teaching laboratory. And part of the first phase of that, it was like a 9-month, incubation period where we were going to identify educators and education leaders and thought leaders from all over the world.
What's the basic needs? What's the foundational needs for a teacher lab?
Foundation is buy-in.
Aside from that, I'm talking tangible. Like if we had the money, to invest into a teacher's lab, what would we need?
You need
generically.
You need master teachers from here, from wherever, and you'd need the commitment of time from the Department of Education.
Who would be targeted?
All teaching students at UVI and existing teachers.
Right? New standards come out of the federal pipeline. They're going to sophisticate the system once again. Let's go ahead, even veteran teachers, right? When they came out with Common Core, that brand new curriculum, and they just expected everybody to figure it out. The teaching laboratory would allow veteran teachers and new teachers to actually learn these things,
with
test
students.
them with students, and really see and develop around those things, because I really do I grew up in the States, and it's not even some of their regulations and things aren't even.
That's about 20 different worlds, when you say you're from the States. It's not the same in the city.
No,
as it is
that's true. That's true.
Out in rural America.
That's true.
I just got back from the Northwest. That's a whole different world.
It sure
from
is.
certain parts, I could live there.
But that's my point, right? My point, Neville, is that, I've lived in LA. I've lived in a village of 500 in Southern Oregon. I've lived all over this world. And I will tell you right now that a blanket standard or certification. It doesn't work
It can't-
in the
but it
mountains of
can't.
Covelo or in the Virgin Islands. You've
But
got to
but can't-
develop it.
But it can't work.
Exactly.
It can't work. But
Yeah.
so we know that a press, a press conference, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want you to get with the data and all that stuff, right? The data.
Data.
Right?
Data.
Right. What's next between now and then? Promoting the actual press thing.
Yeah, what was next was when we were here last, we were getting ready for a summit, our second annual Kids Count Summit, but it was
How that went?
We do a lot of convening, Neville.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, the best we've ever done.
That one there.
Yep.
Hands
That
down.
good.
It was, and what
You heard the three words brought into one. That one there.
that one there, yeah, that one was the best.
All of that is things that we should be promoting as a part of our culture, the way we speak.
The way we speak. And I will qualify because
Yes.
I have been tortured my entire life. It was baked
Can
into
you
me.
come out of there and you're speaking Ivy League, you sung good and all that stuff.
Listen,
you know
it
what
was
I mean?
baked in, man.
Yeah,
I
know.
used to get beat.
No,
So
I know.
I was
No,
one of
it sung
I was
good.
one of
You
children that used to get
you
beat.
sung good. You sung good. When you determine the time and date, let me know.
I will.
I want to get you back on again.
Absolutely.
Right?
Thank you so much for the
Thank
time.
you so
And
much.
then, thanks for the conversation. Great conversation on this hump day. But what I'm saying is, when you make that determination, maybe you could come on maybe the day before or something, so we could
that would be
promote that. Okay?
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, and I
Thank
just
you.
want to say quickly, if you would like any information about Kids Count or any of the initiatives
Yeah.
we've talked about, you can visit our website at stxfoundation.org.
There we go.
Okay.
That's a wrap. Thank you.
Expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters. The views and opinions expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.
And we're back here on Analyze This. I want to thank the St. Croix Foundation for joining us this morning and talking about the realities that we deal with here. Education clearly is a main focus. We're supposed to be hearing from Isabel Tier because it's my understanding that there was a fire, or there is a fire. I don't know if it's still going on, however, in St. Thomas yesterday. I would hope by now, it's been contained. But she's gonna give us an update With respect to that, before we start the conversation with the Casino Control Commission, Marvin, Pickering, and Luther Renee, Senator and all that stuff. Ms. Tier, good morning. How are you? She on the line? Good morning, Isabel. How are you? No? She gone or? She didn't call in yet? Okay. Well, I guess we'll start the conversation. Can't have me here. Okay, we got another casino commission. Commissioner? Is it a commissioner?
Commissioner Carolyn P. Hermon-Percell,
Hermon-Percell?
the vice chair.
Okay, there we go. So, let's do the introduction thing. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Neville James. It's always a pleasure and an honor to appear on Analyze This. When I come and analyze this, I feel very, very special. Thank you so much for having us.
Without a doubt. Madam Vice Chair.
Good morning, Carolyn Hermon-Percell, St. Thomas, St. John Commissioner to the Virgin Islands Casino Control Commission. Good morning to you, Mr. James, and to your listening audience.
There you go. Glad to have you on. Commissioner Luther Renee, how are you?
Good morning. So I'm always happy to be on your show. I'm always happy to listen to you. This morning, I'm here to tell you and the public, play smart from the start.
There you go.
I like that.
He's ready.
No, I like that one. Now, there are 2 months in the year, right, that are associated with gaming, right?
Gaming awareness, gaming education.
Gaming awareness and gaming education.
Yes.
This is gaming education, responsible gaming education month.
That is
right?
correct.
And the primary focus for the Casino Commission, given that directive, is?
Well, first of all, again, thank you for having us, and good morning to your listening and viewing audience. The Responsible Gaming Education Month is sponsored by the American Gaming Association to educate the gaming public and the public in general how to game responsibly. And this is the 27th year that the AGA has been is celebrating or acknowledging or observing the Responsible Gaming Education Month. And the commission's role, is to take a cue from that. We always say that we would like people to gamble, but we want them to do it in a very responsible manner.
We have we've had the Casino Commission in effect for 30 years.
30 years, and thank you. That's we try to always highlight that in this the 30th year. November 3rd, 1995 is when the Casino Resort and Control Act was enacted, and the Commission is celebrating this 30th year anniversary. We have a committee, a 30th anniversary committee, which is headed by Commissioner Luther Renee, and he may speak to that at some time during the program. But yes, 30 years the commission has been in existence.
Okay, good. No, what we're gonna do is let me bring in Ms. Tier to address this emergency situation in St. Thomas.
Okay.
I know we come back to the Casino Control Commission. Good morning, Isabel Tier. How are you?
Hello, good morning. I am doing well.
Good. There's a situation in St. Thomas right now that we want to update the public on.
Yes, so I am currently up by Blackbeard's, right above Government Hill, where a fire broke out this morning at around 5 a.m. I just spoke with the St. Thomas, St. John District Fire Chief, who told me most importantly no injuries have been reported. The cause of the fire is not yet known. And while it hasn't yet been confirmed, I am being told that this is a residential structure. It's not an office or anything like that. But the fire chief also let us know that the blaze has been contained. Everyone's seeing a lot of smoke right now, and he said that that's because the fire got into the roof, but that it has luckily not impacted any neighboring structures, any neighboring buildings, and so they are saying that it is currently contained.
Okay. Is there anything else that those in the neighboring areas should be concerned about, to your knowledge?
Just to, be aware of the smoke, cover your face if possible. The fire crews, that were here at 5 a.m. were replaced at 8 a.m. by another team, and EMS is on the scene, taking care of them as they come in and out of this, the blazing building. And so, there hasn't been any updates on neighboring structures. Just because they say the blaze has been contained, it isn't something that people need to be worried about, since it has been contained to this building.
Okay. Well, Isabel, thank you very much for that update. And if there's anything else, just text me and let me know, and we can get you into the mix. Okay?
Okay, will do.
Thank you, Isabel. Appreciate that.
Yep.
That's Isabel Terry reporting on a situation there in the Blackbeard area. You fancy tell me about that Blackbeard area, Marvin. When we say Blackbeard, what we talking about? I fancy great.
Yeah, I know you from St. Croix. I've been living over here for, however long.
Yeah. We just said donkey. We just said donkey.
Yeah. Going up the hill behind government house.
Behind government. No.
But we do have a St. Someone that lives in St. Thomas on the line.
Yeah, Miss Purcell. Miss Purcell, go on in.
That's the area there behind the whole old hospital, New Hampton Hospital. If you go up the hill, you know what's called Mott 12-foot drive, and you bear to your left, but it's a congested area with a lot of buildings with the pitch pine. So when I saw the video, that would explain why it was so heavy, the smoke so heavy and so black.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the nature of the construction of those old buildings.
Road
that runs right behind Government Hill.
Government Hill. Okay. Well, we're glad to hear that the situation is contained. And of course, we wish it never happened to begin with, but at least those in emergency personnel have stepped up, and we're also glad to hear that no neighboring structures have been impacted as well. Yeah. Thank you very much, Isabel Tier, for helping us out with that. So let's get back to the reason we're here. How is the Casino Control Commission doing?
Oh, we're doing, from my perspective, we're doing great. There's a lot of work going on, and sometimes I think that the staff thinks that I'm putting too much on them, but we have had some really exciting times. We just got through with our Internet Gaming and Gambling Summit.
Mm-hmm. That went well?
That went very, very well.
I think that was a July 31st thing at Carambola, right?
That was July 31st at Carambola.
Why I pick a day when I walk to the territory? I don't know that. I don't know that. I know about the arena, and I pick a day when I traveling. I go to Saratoga to play the horses.
Well,
did the governor tell me? The governor wanted to call the legislature into special session.
He did call it into special
to address
session.
Something for that day. Day, but he said I couldn't do it because Marvin or something. So I was like, well, Marvin Blayton or something. He said, no, Marvin Pickering.
I mean, I was speaking to the Senate President the night before, and then he sent me a text that night. I didn't see it until the morning, and I probably went into panic mode when I saw that it was July 31st. But thanks to Governor Bryan for working with us. We were able to pull it off, and to the Senator Francis, Budget and Appropriations and Finance chair, for postponing some of the hearings that day. It really went well. We had a packed house. Our commissioners, our executive team, our casino inspectors. It was a total team effort. It was very, very high tech. I have to say kudos to my IT team, especially Mr. Odingo Davila and our finance and HR administrator, Romesha Smith. They are the techies in the group, and this our summit was paperless, right? No paper, and they did a magnificent job. But it was a total team effort. Kudos to everyone that helped to pull it off. and we had a packed house. Governor
You
spoke, the lieutenant governor spoke, Senate president spoke, and the senators were there. Really, it went very well.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's a one-time deal.
Yes.
That's a one-off.
Yes.
Right.
That-
And an annual recurring thing.
No. What we are doing, the reason that we held the summit, because we are revising or revisiting the 2001 statutes. The landscape has changed in internet gaming and internet gambling. And since 2018, when the Supreme Court overturned PASPA, and the floodgates were open, we were the first to have that type of law on our books.
Yeah, that was from a couple decades before.
Yes.
Yeah. But we really hadn't into implementation.
Yeah, because
right?
we couldn't.
We couldn't
not under the federal because we were under federal law, and the Wire Act and all that stuff prevented us from doing it.
Yeah.
So what we did, we hired consultants to review the statutes and the regs. We had consultants that come in and gave us the financial and economic impact analysis, and so we wanted to put it before the policy makers. Before and hear from the other stakeholders, in the industry before we moved on to the next step, which is proposing amendments to the legislation to get this infrastructure for internet gaming, sports betting, get it off the ground. We got to get it moving. And I really, really appreciate the governor working with us on that.
There we go. Before I get to Ms. Percell, Ms. Hermon-Percell, I want to talk to Luther Renee. Commissioner, Senator, how are you?
I am doing well, Mr. James.
On its face, 30 years in, one big mainframe casino and then another one, a smaller size casino in Christiansted. So it hasn't panned out, right? Without taking shots, it hasn't panned out like it was originally intended to. I think, can we agree on that?
We agree on that.
Foundationally, right? Now, gaming. However, casino gaming in that 30-year window on the mainland has flourished. Pull the microphone up a little bit there so you can speak directly.
Yes, definitely.
Directly into it. And we have, in my estimation, you don't have to necessarily agree, we got too many attributes here in the Virgin Islands, I guess. And of course, for those who don't know, right, casino gaming is legislated for the entire Virgin Islands. However, it is not zoned for anywhere outside of St. Croix. So I think we need to educate the public on that, right? But, even just for St. Croix alone, we got too many attributes here. Senator, Commissioner, Luther Renee, for us to only have the DV facility up there, which is 25 years old this past March, and the VIGL, Caravel Casino, which is 9 years this past May, right? Why, in your estimation, having been a legislator, knowing the industry and knowing numbers and all that stuff, that we've only resulted in 2?
I think we have to make St. Croix more attractive, number one, so that we can pull in the air traffic that we need. People need to come. Initially, when the law was proposed, it was intended for hotel buildings. But if you don't have the traffic...
Thank you for the education. Yeah.
You need to have people coming to the Virgin Islands. So it has to work with other areas to make it more attractive. We have the facilities. We have the beauty.
See there?
St. Croix. I hear you every morning saying you see St. John.
It right out there, man. Why wouldn't somebody who wants to gamble wouldn't want to come here and go to the beach with money? Go to the beach during the day, dinner, and then gaming at night. 'Cause that's basically what it's about, right? It's about the amenities, right? To let you go there. So you're saying that we need, so it isn't just about statutes and legislation and people building casino. There's a marketing component.
That's right, a marketing component.
That has to be factored in.
You have to bring people in.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. So, Ms. Percell, I'm gonna come to you now. And I'm going to tell you what happened on St. Croix. I'm going to be the historian this morning.
Okay.
Okay?
Tell me.
I don't know if you're aware of it. You might know about it. When DV opened in 2000, DV themselves could not have imagined the appetite for gambling here in the Virgin Islands. And as a result, they didn't even have to market DV Carina Bay. And as a result of that, 90%, because they did a study, right? 7 years into DV's existence, Commissioner Hermon-Percell, over 90% of the people who were gambling in the casino were local Virgin Islanders. That's a fact.
Still is.
And are you saying it still is?
Still is.
Right. Should there be some mandated marketing, of the existing casinos, Madam Commissioner? Given your legal background and all that stuff, can we actually mandate that those that we've allowed for this activity to take place to market the Virgin Islands?
In my estimation, we can do many things. I know the law had, and the chair will correct me if I'm wrong, that tourism was given, whatever agency was called before it was called tourism, was given a portion of monies to market the Virgin Islands, or specifically St. Croix, and to attract visitors there to St. Croix to participate in the gambling activities there, and to let them know that was part of the monies generated from the casino industry.
Mm-hmm.
The legislature amended the law and took out that distribution that was provided for them.
Doesn't the casino revenue fund mandate monies to go to different agencies, including tourism, or is that a separate and apart from the mandate in the Resort and Casino Control Act of 1995 that you're referring to?
The mandate is there, but the allotment to tourism was removed.
Okay.
The chairman can correct me if I've misspoken.
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Right.
It was removed?
Money still go to the hospital, sports, park and recreation,
agriculture,
department, agriculture, but they removed the allotment for tourism. And the allotment for tourism, going back to the old law, was specifically mandated for tourism to market St. Croix.
Wow. We're going to take a break, come back and pick up the discussion there. Because I know we're focusing this morning on responsible gaming, but the reality is you need that platform to actually gamble responsibly. And we want to make sure that the platform is actually, founded, for lack of a better term. We got the Casino Control Commission here. We got Chairman, Chief Executive Officer Marvin Pickering, Commissioner Luther Renee, and Madam Vice Chair Carolyn P. Hermon-Percell joining us via phone. Be back right after this. And we're back here analyze this. Now we got the Casino Control Commission leadership here with commissioners Pickering, Renee, and Hermon-Percell in the studio and joining me online. Good morning to all of you distinguished Virgin Islanders.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Glad to have us. So we laughing for Commissioner Percell. We laughing for you. You're not distinguished Virgin Islander?
No. I wasn't laughing. I was asking if I may say something.
Oh, go right ahead. Yeah, sorry about that. Go right ahead. Yeah.
No, I am a distinguished Virgin Islander.
Yeah, man. No, you are a distinguished Virgin Islander. That's a factual statement. So go right ahead. Yeah.
While we were at the break, I was able to find the law was 32 Virgin Islands Code, Section 517. It was a casino revenue fund. And we used to provide 5% to tourism and casino promotion of St. Croix, and that was removed.
And your chairman, give me the act number, Act 8577, and I'm watching it right now. So I'm trying to find the actual section in the legislation, bill number 34.0224, that adjusted, that modified that mandate. So I gonna work on that. We could walk and chew gum at the same time here and analyze this. So one of my listeners text me. One of my regular listeners text me. I didn't get to read it, but he mentioned something about another casino. He said, "Come on, Neville, another casino in the Caribbean. The numbers don't work demographically." You're wrong. Okay? I can be very. It even got to do with numbers and demographics. Actually, it has to do with the actual amenity and people having something to do. Right? Remember now, on Mr. Chairman, the majority of the gamers on the mainland, when I go to the States, right, I go to racetracks, and a lot of the racetracks they have alternative gaming, right? Alternative gaming being casinos, slot machines, VLTs, what have you, right?
Racinos.
That's the term, racinos, right? And one of the things that they've said about gaming is that the majority of the gamblers are seniors, right?
Yes.
Not. I'm not talking about the big gamblers, the looking for a blackjack table with $100,000 and all that stuff. I'm talking actual slot machine players, right? And so that has been a argument against gaming because they believe that it's targeting a demographic and all that stuff. But the reality is, you know why a lot of the elderly folks are gaming? Because there's something to do.
Something to do.
That's just what it isn't just about them wanting to win money.
Right. It's entertainment.
Yes, it's entertainment.
Which is what it should be.
Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Entertainment.
And it comes back to what we're talking about, which is responsible gaming.
Exactly.
Right? And you go through it enough, you learn, this thing could be damaging. So let me go the budgeting route with respect to how much I gonna make available to play with. You know what I'm saying? And of course everybody's not a machine. Some people are very lucky and they win. A lot of people are not lucky and they lose because that's just the realities. But that's where the Casino Commission come into play, right? To provide that umbrella, right? It's not just about, okay, let we create jobs and make money and all that stuff. You also got to protect the industry and protect the people, right?
Absolutely. And, I have tasked the vice chair with the PGAM and RGEM programs, and she could speak to that as to what type of activities, we've been engaged in.
No, but before you do that, let me ask this question. Madam Vice Chair, Chairman Pickering, and Lieutenant, I got a good relationship. The three of you, the chemistry is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't want to public. I got to ask that question. No. I want to ask that question. I think I should. We shouldn't be assuming here. I think it's good to put that on the record where the conversation is concerned. I got a good working relationship, good chemistry.
We have a good working relationship, excellent working relationship.
Good. So
we don't always agree.
You shouldn't.
And we should not because we're not monolith. But yes, we have a great working relationship.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
I would want to say this is one working with the Chair Pickering and Commissioner Renee has been one of the best working experiences in my career.
Wow.
I say
Wow.
that.
Wow.
And
I like hearing that.
don't just view them as colleagues. I view them as friends, persons I can go and talk to about anything. And I've had some things happen in my life, and they have been so supportive of me. But I've learned so much from both of them, and I think my working relationship with them is fantastic, and it just makes my coming. I love coming to work at the Casino Control Commission. How's that?
That's awesome. That's awesome. And from a tenure standpoint, you're the longest of the three.
Yes. Yes.
And then said
Percell.
Purcell, and then there's a Nubian here. There's a baby.
Yeah, there's a baby.
Lutheran is a baby. Madam Vice Chair, you have been vested with some responsibilities that the chairman spoke about.
Yes, to head up when in March when we do problem gambling awareness.
Mm-hmm.
In September when we focus on responsible gaming. And it's just to get messages out, and we thank you, WTJX, for always being willing to have us come in and share that knowledge with the listening public. Because we want people to know responsible gaming involves setting a budget and sticking to it, keep the activity fun, keep it social, for them to know the game and to know the odds, and to importantly play with trusted licensed operators, the persons licensed by the Casino Control Commission, because the Casino Control Commission has taken the time to properly vet them, to make sure that persons will have all the safeguards in place for when you enter into the casinos so you can game responsibly.
Commissioner, can you speak to some of our successes, the partnership with health, and our presentation in Nashville the other day?
Yes, and I know we spoke to and when we analyzed this in March, we talked about going to NAGRA, the North American Gaming Association, to present our programs, how we build culturally aware problem gambling awareness program. And we did present before NAGRA in June. NAGRA had over 300 attendees to that conference. Our presentation was well received. We, at that point, we shared with them how we have developed playwisevi.org, which is our website that provides responsible gaming and problem gambling information. Again, that's playwisevi.org, and anyone can access that. From that Playwise VI site, we are now able to extract analytics. We can tell where persons are logging in from, how long they're staying at the site, which pages they're using more than others. We also partnered with the Virgin Islands Department of Health in a memorandum of understanding in which the commission, with the 1% that we receive for problem gambling awareness program, we were able to provide the Department of Health, the Division of Behavioral Health, funds where counselors, 3 on each island district, went to be trained and to be certified as problem gambling awareness counselors, as counselors who can treat problem gambling addiction. And we did this, the commission did this because we were concerned, yes, we have access to the 1-800-GAMBLER number, but on reflection, we realized that it was important for persons to be able to access resources locally, where you can walk into an office, you can speak to a person who understands your culture, where you're coming from, how you speak, certain terms you use. And that's why we then directed monies, and health was more than willing to come along with us. Commissioner Hussar Kanashon, we joined in that. Those counselors have finished their training. They're now in the part where they're being tested to be certified. And we just continue to move along with our problem gambling, our responsible gaming awareness within the commission. We strengthen our voluntary exclusion program, where anyone can come in, any patron can come in and actually voluntarily excluded from the commission. We made it where you have to stay on that list for a minimum period of 6 months, while you adjust how your behavior to gambling. And once those counselors are in place, we'll be able to then direct persons to resources, not just on the website, but also to therapists located in the territory.
So this is a comprehensive thing now, Commissioner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we're trying to touch as many things as we can with the financial resources we have.
There we go.
Because like the industry world, and I always say it seems counterintuitive that the gambling industry wants persons to gamble responsibly, but that's key for a strong gambling industry. The player has to be responsible, and so the industry and those that regulate the industry are committed to responsible gaming.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Renee, the legislation that was referenced earlier, and Mr. Chairman, you're right, 8577. And what they did, right? You could modify how you designate monies for certain agencies by either striking or by just changing out how you go about making the monies, the percentages available for the agencies. And that's what they did here, Senator and Commissioner Renee. And I see that, so I'm going to break it down for the public. I think it's important for the public to know, right? For casino monies, right? Monies generated at the casino, right? Here's the breakdown. 25% to IO. So I could handle business, right, which is legit. 20% to the Department of Education, so that's now 45%. Right, we're gonna do the math as we go, right? 15% to the Department of Health, 60, right? And that's good because what it does, it speaks to what Madam Vice Chair just spoke about. Your relationship with agencies, you got to fund, right? So we're at 60. Another 15% to sports park and recreation. That gets us to 75%. 10% to both the Department of Agriculture and the Virgin Islands Police Department. So that's 20% total. So you add that to 75. We're at 95% now. 3% to the University of Virgin Islands. 1% to the Bureau of Internal Revenue for administration and enforcement. And 1% to the Virgin Islands Casino Control Commission for programs to treat and prevent gambling addiction. So
those two, the IRB and UVI was subsequently eliminated in another act. I don't.
Subsequent to that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4%.
Yes, that's 4%.
Right.
It went to other agencies.
It went to other agencies. Okay.
Yeah, the act that struck that is 8688.
That's what I'm talking about. 8688.
So now, so then it became 4% to the government health and hospital facilities. That's what they put, and that's what they did with that.
That's what they did with that 4%.
Yes.
What? So we taking money from the one entity that will be battling for the most money, UVI, right? So that ain't for I to deal with. I'll take that up with my senatorial colleagues from back in the day and all that stuff and ask them about that. But Senator Renee, this is 1995 template, this legislation, right? In terms of itemizing or determining what agencies get back, and then you served in 2003 and 2004, right? First of all, the Casino Control and Resort Act, or CRCA, is one of the best written statutes in the Virgin Islands.
Big.
Right, speaking to the mic, and it actually modeled, I think it was New Jersey, right? So it was sound at that particular time, and I like that agencies and the people of the Virgin Islands are benefiting from via the Casino Revenue Fund, right? That's a good thing, right? Now that you're a commissioner, right? Because you're in the legislating business, you're in the educating business, UVI. Now, you're a commissioner. Looking at it with all of that background, what's our biggest needs here in the Virgin Islands right now as it relates to gaming?
I would say we need more oversight of the gaming industry in the sense that we want to make sure that, one, the industry grow first of all, and it's protected. The people are protected from gambling problems.
Yes.
For it to grow, we need to market St. Croix. Now we are moving into internet gaming and internet gambling. That may be an avenue to increase gambling revenues, and so we probably could do more marketing. But the growth in the economy generally.
That's your thing. That's your baby.
Right. Growth in the economy generally will, of course, generate multiplier effects and all of this thing.
Well, education and understanding the industry.
And understanding the
Is
industry.
actually-
I don't think too many people in the Virgin, and I've said so at meetings, understand what the role of the commission is. For example, I've received many questions from people. Why don't you all advertise and bring in more casinos? We can't do that.
Candidate. That's a conflict.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
You can advertise
directly-
education.
Right.
And other things associated with it. But the actual development of the industry, that's a conflict.
Growth in the industry through other agencies, it would be my first priority.
Mr. Chairman, knowing the industry, sports betting is where it's at now.
Absolutely.
People know about slot machines and all that stuff, but there are red states, let me use America, that wanted nothing to do with casino gaming, but now balancing the budget because of sports betting.
That's right. I think it's like 34 states now have sports betting. I was at the
Like Kentucky,
Kentucky.
right? Yeah, Kentucky was anti everything other than horse racing. Now they got into sports betting, and now horse racing is one of the biggest beneficiaries of sports betting.
That's right, and it is growing. It's sports betting, it's internet gaming. Sports betting generated something like in the last in 2024, something like $14 billion just in sports betting.
That 9 zeros are talking about,
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
Absolutely.
We're talking with the Casino Resort, Casino Control Commission. When we come back, we're going to touch on that big issue in addition to responsible gambling, which is the moratorium. Is St. Thomas and St. John ready, or should they be a part of the casino template in the Virgin Islands? We'll be back right after this. And we're back here having a great conversation with the leadership of the Virgin Islands Casino Control Commission. We got Mr. Chairman Marvin Pickering. We got Madam Vice Chair, Ms. Carolyn Hermon-Percell, and Casino Commissioner Renee. Good morning once again.
Good morning, sir.
To the distinguished leadership. So, before we get into that hot topic about St. Thomas and St. John being under the Casino Control Commission potentially, if somebody listening to the show and they want to sit down and talk with a commissioner, how do you make that happen?
Oh, you just call us, 718-3616. 3616. Call our office, set up an appointment to us, and some people know our cell numbers and what have you. Call the office and set up an appointment, which we've done.
Open door policy there?
Open door policy.
Okay.
So come in and sit down and speak with us, and people have done that.
Okay.
But in the conversations that we've had, nothing has really materialized. So but yes, we are very, very much open to having those discussions.
Okay, good. And finally, as it relates to responsible gaming in the Virgin Islands, I want to make sure, because that's why you're here today. I want to get that out of the way before we go to the fire stick. You comfortable with the job and the role the Casino Control Commission is playing as it relates to gaming responsibly here in the Virgin Islands and providing the support mechanisms for those who may be having issues and what have you?
Very comfortable, and again, we are proud of the efforts that we've made, with the partnership with the MOU with Department of Health. We have established the website Playboy HVI, as Madam Vice Chair alluded to earlier. We are working with our casino licensees. They play a major role in this as well. So they partner with us. We have posters that we've designed and placed around the casino properties. We have them at our last quarterly meeting and hearing. We had the casino licensees in attendance, and they explained to us the various activities that they would be having to observe Responsible Gaming Education Month.
And finally, I want the public to know that if you're walking at the casino, if you're a dealer, you go have a casino license.
Everyone that touches the casino must have a license or be exempted from license.
Yeah, you got to be.
Everyone.
There's a vetting process. You just can't walk up to the casino and the casino can hire you.
No.
The casino got to refer you through the casino commission, and I'll go through the vetting thing, and then they got to meet all these requirements in order to be given a license to work at the casino.
Absolutely.
And that's all part of the protection mechanism.
Right. That's our regulation or regulatory
responsibilities.
And that is why we have a difficult time dealing with the illegal operators. Because there's no protection for the players there. We have to know, the commission has to know who is dealing with the casinos. It's a highly regulated industry.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
Ms. Percell, you there?
Yes, I am listening intensely.
I can talk to you from experience, right? I used to run the pari-mutuel at the Dock Chase racetrack after my dad passed in 1992. So I would have a feel for who gambling and who got the money, right? I also used to, I'm gonna be very candid. I used to go to the gamble shop there because I used to like to play dice back in the day, right? They used when you're playing dice, you're either a right man or a wrong man, right? Right? A right man being that you're back in the shooter, a wrong man being that you're back in the house, right? And I was a notorious right man, right? Anyway, ain't about me. So, Ms. Percell, I got something to tell you. When and the audience and Marvin and Luther, when I get in the gamble shop and I shoot in 10, they seem to me and I'm shooting 20. I tell you. And when I win in and now I raise in the ante and I shoot in 50, they seem to me and them want to know if I want to shoot 100. Right? I'm just telling you how it is. Right? I go. This is education to the public from personal experiences, Martin. So I know about the game and dollar, right? when I used to run the parimutuel, Madam Vice Chair, Mr. Chairman, and Luther Renee, and the horse owners come from St. Thomas. The St. Croix has owner them betting 500 and they has to win. The St. Tommy and them betting 1,000. I just telling you. I know about the game in dollar here in the Virgin Islands, right?
So what are you saying? That the St. Thomas game more?
They game a greater volume than Crucians. I just call it like it is, right?
Like it is. Okay.
Me saying that as lucky or not, because you need luck in gambling. You know what I mean? Make how much money you got. If you ain't got no luck on your salt, you're gonna lose, right? There was a moratorium with the original statute in 1995. I think it was a 5-year deal. That really wasn't realistic because we didn't even open our casino until 5 years later, right? In 2000,
that's right.
But that was 25 years ago, Mr. Chairman. And in the interim, VLTs were enacted in December of 2002, right before you came in. Remember, it was and then remember that your first 90 days as a senator was a big thing about repealing and all that stuff, and it didn't pan out, whatever. And it's been there now for 22, 23 years. Looking at the template based on what you know, Mr. Chairman, is it now time for casino gaming in St. Thomas and St. John to be regulated by the Virgin Islands Casino Control Commission?
It is interesting that you said that, and I mentioned earlier that we had a very busy month of July, with the planning the summit, and we had 2 appearances at the legislature. And one of those appearances in the Senator Hubert Frederick's Committee, Economic Development and Agriculture. Senator Alma Francis Heiliger spoke to that. Is it time now to expand the casino gaming, as you mentioned earlier,
via zoning,
via the zoning to St. Thomas? Since and one of her arguments was that yes, this act CRCA was to spur hotel development in St. Croix, and it hasn't happened when St. Thomas has the hotels. So there's an argument to be made for that. As long as it's under the Virgin Islands Casino Control Commission.
Okay.
And regulated by the commission.
Mr. Renee, what's your take?
I see the amount of gambling activity taking in St. Thomas right now with the VLTs and all of those other gambling institutions, and they're not regulated. So I feel it's time that we can open it up. But of course, I agree with the chairman. Once it's controlled under the VICCC, I'm all for it.
Madam Vice Chair?
I would echo that. I'm here in St. Thomas, St. John, and I see the popularity of the term we use, the gaming centers. Very popular. The senators have to revisit that issue. That's definitely something for the legislature to look at.
Now, we had some legislation in 2022. I think it's the same 8577, right? And there was an amendment there, amendment that was offered. I don't know if it was line item vetoed or whatever, but there was an amendment. And it wasn't line item vetoed. And I believe it was the same Senator Alma Francis Heiliger who had offered it for them to either revisit or look at potential casino control commission regulated gaming activity in St. Thomas and St. John. The hotel rooms was the big issue back in 92, I think it was. It was a referendum or something in 92, and then the legislation actually passed in 95.
Think about this. Think about this, Neville. The two casinos here on St. Croix, just the 2 casinos, the total amount gambled in the last 3 years, over $290 million.
That's 2 casinos alone.
2 casinos.
And one full-fledged, one is a smaller scale compared to the other.
Right.
They're not comparable. They're not comparable in size.
Right. And that's the amount gambled. Gross gaming revenue over close to $51 million over the past 3 years.
A sixth.
Yes. Okay. The taxes. You were talking about the casino revenue fund earlier. The monies in the casino revenue fund is generated from the 12% tax on the casinos. And over the past 3 years, close to $7 million in taxes were paid just for the 2 casinos here on St. Croix.
So big figure for the last 3 years, $291 million gambled.
Gambled, yes.
So that's what, about $94 million a year, right? Thereabouts, right?
There you go.
And
Actually, 96.8 if you want to get
96.8. Yeah.
if you want to get
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah. You said 291.
290, yeah, close to 291.
Well, and the head is actually $97 million.
Yeah, that's it, 96.8.
Yeah.
I know you're a numbers guy.
When you divide 3 into 291, it's actually 97 on the head, you know?
Yeah.
You check what I'm saying?
That's
Because
right.
you got 9
That's
leave over and you times 3, right? And as a result of that, right, 91 between Divi and Caravel?
Yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then in St. Thomas, you have more hotels.
Yes, sir.
More economic activity.
Yes,
So
sir.
you could see.
Yes, sir.
See the potential.
And the cruise ships, right? And the cruise ships, even though the casinos don't open till 11 o'clock, right? Here in St. Croix?
Yes, I believe it's 11. Yes, 11 or 10:30.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, somewhere around.
So if a cruise ship is in port and they leave in 5, 6 o'clock, you got another 3, 4 hours if somebody wanted to go to a casino in St. Thomas, what have you. Like here, if you're back in Frederickston and you want to go DV during in the early afternoon, but you go get back to get on the ship because you don't want the ship to leave you, right? So that's another avenue there as well.
Yeah.
Right. Now let me get back to the regulatory aspect of the operation. You got, what's his name? Oliver David? That's his name?
Yes.
So that's a relationship with the Department of Justice, isn't it?
He's the head of the Division of Game and Enforcement, which is under the Department of Justice.
Okay,
That is correct.
so there's an automatic relationship there.
They are the investigatory arm of the commission.
Okay.
And investigatory, prosecutorial arm of the commission.
What's the other areas of the commission that the public may not be aware of that you think it's good for the public to be aware, because we want the public as educated as possible about gaming, because Luther brought up a good point. Somebody might ask you, why you ain't promoting the casino? You ain't in the business of casino promotion. You're in the business of regulation.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. We regulate the industry. We make sure that the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, they're doing what they're supposed to do. You know, we have instances where we've had to sanction the casinos for some violation of the other, or sanction casino employee licensees, you know, for certain violations. You know, but basically that's what we do. We regulate the casino industry, as I said earlier. Not to be too redundant, everyone that touches the casino must come through the Casino Control Commission.
Final
And if
question.
I may-
Yeah, go ahead, Madam Vice Chair.
I would like to also, you said a division of the casino, the commission that persons may not be or should be aware of. At each of our the casinos, we have our casino inspectors, who we say they are a hands-on representative of the commission, and they're there at the casinos. You know, they're present in their red shirt, very visible, and those are persons that any patron can go to, can talk to. Something arises, but there are eyes and ears on site at each of the casinos.
No.
That's an important part of the Casino Control Commission and what we do.
Yes, indeed. Yes, it is. VIGL decided they don't want to be part of the horse racing industry in the Virgin Islands no more. And you had granted them a conditional license, or it was an actual license with a 1 year term, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That's separate and apart from the license that they have to operate the casino in Christiansted, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so if so the way the law is written right now, if you want to conduct gaming at the racetrack, if you are a promoter, you must have a casino license, or you have to be one of the existing casino license operators in the Virgin Islands. How does it work?
Yeah, I believe you must have a casino license in order to have the to operate the casino at the racetrack.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Is that correct, Vice Chair?
Right, because we have to license you as a casino located at a racetrack. That's what it would be called, the casino. But you also have to have the franchise.
Correct. Correct.
Right.
Correct. And that's a horse racing commission matter. That is not a casino control commission issue.
That is
Right.
correct.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you have to have the one before the other. Franchise before the casino license to operate at the racetrack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the question is Divi and VIGL, this would be Caravel Casino, do you have to have a relationship with them in order to, if you were the promoter at the racetrack, running races, don't they?
That's a good question. But I believe so. That
the way the law is written, is it?
The way the law is currently written.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there would have to be some type of modification.
What is it? There's a promoter.
Correct. There's a promoter. Yeah.
Right.
The promoter enters into the franchise agreement
right.
that
and there's a franchise
Commissioner Percell
agreement.
just talked
Right.
about. Yeah. And
right.
then there's a live racing agreement.
And then there's a live racing agreement with the
with horsemen, with the horse owners.
The horse owners.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
Look, man, always great to talk with you, man. You know what I'm saying?
Always a pleasure.
So I guess it's every 6 months I'm going to see you again in March.
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair.
As long as you would have us.
Of course. Madam Vice Chair, thanks for joining us via the telephone. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And looking forward to talking with all three of you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
and
for
have a great
having
day.
us.
You're good. Great show today. Thank you very much.
Okay, man.
Also to the Sinclair Foundation. Be good and be safe. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.